Do you want to know the fastest way to eliminate social anxiety, self-doubt, fear, and anything else that's stopping you from stepping out in the world as your most bold, confident self? So you can go do that in your business life, your career, your dating life, your personal life, and just anywhere in the world. You want to know the fastest way to get there. In fact, it's the fastest way to solve any problem. And it's what I've done for more than a decade at this point, and it's how I've helped so many other people break through out of social anxiety into power and confidence more rapidly than they thought possible. And I'm going to share that in this short video. So if you're curious, here's what I believe it is. And I'm sure you've tried a ton of different things. Most people have. The most common being, of course, books, right? Reading tons of books, maybe watching videos online. That's become more and more common over the last 10 years or so. And then maybe bigger efforts like you tried therapy or you tried talking to a friend. I mean, other than that, those are usually the core things that people have done to overcome fear, self-doubt, social anxiety, and become massively confident. And yet, there is something that is much faster and in my life and in the lives of many people I've worked with has worked much better and much more quickly. And that is the subject of this video, which is immersion experiences. Immersion experiences. That's what's helped me get from so uncomfortable that I couldn't make eye contact with people, let alone speak in front of a camera and interact with big groups of people and lead big groups of people. That was just so outside of my realm of possibility. And then, of course, the simple stuff like striking up a conversation with a stranger, approaching someone I was attracted to, making new friends, dating. All of that stuff was completely off limits for me. And I was able to break through all of that. And I did all those other things. I read tons of books. I watched lots of videos. Back then, it was a lot of audios that I listened to, CDs and other things. And then I actually went and saw a therapist as well and worked on that as well. And all of that stuff helped. But the biggest breakthroughs, so instead of progress being kind of like, what made the progress go boom, and then boom, and then boom, to where I was just doing more and more than I ever thought possible, that came from immersion experiences. And the first one I ever went to was someone you may have heard of by the name of Tony Robbins. And I went to his Unleash the Power Within event. And I remember the first hour of the first day. I was in graduate school at the time, by the way. I was like studying from the greatest minds in clinical psychology. And in the first hour of the first day, I was like, this is kind of better than anything I've ever studied in my entire life, right? Because it was the way it was taught. It was total immersion. It was engaging. It was energetic. And best of all, it got me into action. And so from there, I went from one to another Tony Robbins to another thing. Then I found these other immersion experiences that were taught by the woman that is now my wife, Candace, that were all about authenticity, how to be more honest and direct, how to be more freely expressive in yourself. Very similar to the stuff that I teach people how to do today. And then I went other immersion experiences. I was in a men's group and we did these immersion weekends. And I don't know how many at this point, dozens of these weekends. And I was in a mastermind program for 2 years in the last 2 years. And I went every 3 months down to San Diego to do another immersion weekend. That's how much I believe this stuff works. And if I really want to solve a problem, whether I want to overcome something in my business, I want to learn how to do something in my relationship or my dating life or my romantic life, or I want to figure out something for my health or any area of your life, if you immerse yourself in it, the gains are so much faster, so much more noticeable and tangible and quick than reading a book. And here's why. It's not because the material in the books is not good. I mean, usually, and I know this for myself, I know a lot of other authors would agree, I put my best stuff in the book. I mean, it is the most refined, thought over, distilled, best stuff, and then I edit it and we make it even better and tighter. It's very different than these videos where I'm known to just ramble on, right? And it's really tight and it's the best stuff, and yet it is, I want to say the least impactful, but it is not massively impactful for most people. And that's just the sad truth of it. Now, books change lives, and some of these books have changed my life, but it's almost like they're like an extra ingredient, but they're not the whole soup. And what you need is like the flame. And that is what the immersion experiences are. Going with the soup analogy, it's like the cauldron that everything goes into and the flame. Because the one difference between immersion and books and anything else is massive focus and action. Because even in therapy, you can say, well, therapy is doing action. Well, you're going to go talk with someone once a week or once every other week. That doesn't imply any action. In fact, I knew a lot of people that would just go to therapy just to be heard. There's nothing wrong with that, but it's not going to get you the results that you want in your life. It's not going to help you break through rapidly and create extraordinary levels of confidence for yourself. That comes from immersion. And there's a reason why the immersion is so powerful. One, it gets you into massive action because you fly out there, you are totally focused on that. And any immersion experience that's worth its salt, that's valuable in any way, is not just like a lecture where you just sit there and take in more information, because you can do that at home. It is like making you do stuff while you're there. You are practicing. It is a workshop. It is an experience, not just a bunch of more information going into your head, right? So that is a core component, and that's why it's life-changing. I mean, just recently at a live event that we did, I'm smiling because I love this guy. He came and was afraid to be bold and put himself out there, and we were going to have an opportunity, as I do at all my live events, for people to go out and practice stuff. And before they went out, I said, you know, who here is feeling some anxiety about going out and doing stuff and being more bold? And a lot of people raised their hand because, of course, right? I would too. It's pushing our edge, and that's the point. That's why we're there. That's why we got the support of the group to help us. Anyway, this guy raised his hand, and I called him, and I brought him up to the stage, and I started working with him. And turns out his mind was saying all kinds of crazy shit, like all our minds do, right? Like, there's no way you could do this. It is impossible. You're going to go out there, and you're not going to do anything, and then you're going to feel like a failure. I said, wow. So it's all scripted ahead of time. He said, well, no. And then my mind tells me, well, I never take action in my life. And so even if I do something here, nothing's going to change. I said, oh, so nothing's going to change. That's right. And we started to drill down into what exactly would he like to be able to do. And he's like, well, I would, a lot of things. He wants to be more bold and free and expressive in relationships, with colleagues, with friends. He wants to create a new romantic relationship and build a loving connection. I said, great. Well, what if we took one of those things and just took a very small chip of it today? Like, for example, if you want to create a loving romantic relationship, you got to be able to connect. And he was a guy, and he was heterosexual. So I was like, you got to be able to connect with women. So perhaps interacting with some women when you're out there. And we came up with the idea of giving them some compliments. And go around and give a few women some compliments. Hey, I like this, I like that, I like your shoes, whatever. And he was like, no, that would never work. Interesting, right? And so the point of this story, eventually he went out and just crushed it, by the way. So we worked through a ton of stuff. I could spend an hour talking about what we did. It was really fun. But he went out there and did stuff he'd never done before. Massive breakthroughs, all in the span of about an hour working together and then an hour out in the world, right? And this comes from being in that experience. Now, I know for a fact that he would not have done any of those things had he just been reading a book at home alone. Because I know what we're like as humans, right? We need that support. We need that help. We need that loving push to get out there and do stuff that we're scared of. And the beauty of the immersion experience is not only do you get the encouragement to go out there and do stuff, you get a ton of guidance on how to do it, like the strategy of how to do it, but also the mindset, right? If someone doesn't want to talk to you or you try something that doesn't work, how do you not implode and just destroy yourself with self-criticism and I suck and shame and all that stuff. And then you have this incredibly supportive, healing environment so that you come back from your action and you talk about it, you work through it. You learn from no matter what experience you have. And again, that's very different. If we're trying to do this stuff on our own, we go out and we somehow work up the courage to go try it, and then we do, and then it doesn't go well. And then we go home and we're like, oh, it's just destroyed, right? I've been there. But when you have this event and this experience, you come back and it's like, there's all those people. Let's talk about it. Let's work through it. You're not alone. And that's how we grow rapidly. One of my teachers said that salvation is communal. And she didn't mean it in a religious way. She meant it in saving ourselves from our suffering, growing, healing, becoming our most confident, bold selves and pursuing our potential. That is communal. That means we do it together. And that's what I've seen. That's why my own experience has been so transformative with these things. And after, I remember the first Tony Robbins experience, I went out and took so much action that weekend. And for me, it was tons of social anxiety at that time in my life. So I approached women, I approached strangers, I approached groups. I did it all that weekend because I was on fire. And then I was able to keep going when I got home. And each experience I went to, I was able to massively apply it. And it led to these massive boosts in growth. And I know the same is for you. And so there's one thing that I want you to get from this video. It's that to get the results that you want and to get them more quickly than maybe like a 5-year or 10-year time span, then immersive experiences, whatever you can throw yourself into, is going to transform you. Obviously, a live event with me, I think if you're in any way resonating with the kind of stuff I talk about, how to be more bold, how to have confidence, how to eliminate social anxiety and your fear of rejection and being a nice person, and instead of being a bold badass in the world, then obviously I think coming to one of mine would be the best, right? But there's other things you can do too, right? Going to an improv class, whether it's once a week for 8 weeks, that's an immersion experience, or an improv weekend that's 3 days, right? Or a singing workshop, or whatever gets you out there. You know, speed dating is an immersion experience. Do you see what I'm talking about though? It's getting into the, now those things don't offer the same comprehensive stuff that I'm talking about at my events, but do you see how getting into action is going to be the key and immersing yourself in the experience? Because you can read books, you can watch videos, and you can talk to a therapist till you're blue in the face, and nothing's going to transform until you get into massive action. And the best way that I know how to do that is by going to immersion experiences. That's why I've done it for years. I have 3 scheduled for the next coming year that I know of already for me after doing this for 10 years or more, right? So I believe in this stuff, and I've seen the power of it, and I've seen the effect in my life. So I wanted to share that with you. I do have my next live event coming up, and in just a few days I'm going to send you a video about that, about where it is, what's going on, what it's about. I'm super excited about this one. It's going to be in the summertime, and it is incredible. So I'm not going to say any more. You're going to stay tuned for your email for that. But until we speak again, may you have the courage to be who you are and to know on a deep level that you're awesome.